They win. Sure? Now?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, me? I'm on? I mean, okay. Hi. You can ask any questions you like along the way to kind of keep me going, you know.
Alright.
It's me again. If you don't know me by now, it's the brakes. Didn't have anything else to do today. No brake jobs, no shocks, no anything else. So I decided what I would do, I would just show you the internal parts of an engine, because we just happen to have a spare engine laying around, you know. And I'm going to show you all how it works and all this kind of good stuff, and that way next time you look under the hood under your car, you won't be looking at all that big conglomeration and say, you know, what in the world is that? So this way you'll know what's going on inside your engine, and if you got a better understanding of your engine, then you'll have a better understanding of how to keep it running right and what to do
when it blows up.
Yeah, what to do when it blows up. And
How much to cry.
how much it's going to cost you when it blows up. You're right, like Jim said here, how much to cry. And just if you got an understanding of something, it just helps you in about 11,001 different ways. You know, you'll never get the full benefit of your car until you understand exactly how it works. You'll know how to drive it to make it work better, how to drive it to keep from hurting it. You'll also know why. You remember the oil change show we did a few weeks ago? Now you'll know why this engine has to have oil in it. I'm going to start with this. Whoa, is the bottom of the engine, okay? When you climb underneath your car and look, this is well, you'll see these two parts. You won't see this. This is covered up. I'm fixing to tell you why. Now, this is a 350 engine. It has 8 cylinders. Have you ever heard anybody tell you about my car's got 6 cylinders, my car's got 8 cylinders, or something like that? Let me give you a show. These holes in this thing here, all these holes, these are cylinders. Okay, now I'll explain what they're for in a few minutes if you don't already know. Now, I've got 4 on this side, 4 on this side. So this is an 8 cylinder. This is a General Motors 350 cubic inch engine. Now, the 350 cubic inches is how many cubic inches in the cylinders, okay? Now, normally, as a general rule, the more cubic inches, the more powerful the engine. That's not always true, but it's a pretty good rule to go by. Now, to start with, these cylinders have pistons in them. Now, you may have seen these before somewhere, but this is a piston. Now, this is an awful pain in the neck to stick in this cylinder, so I'm not going to stick it in this cylinder this morning. I'm just going to tell you that's where it goes, okay? This piston fits in this cylinder. Fits in this cylinder right here perfectly. No room for nothing to get beside it. Now, this has got rings around it. These little things that move back and forth on the piston.
Hold still.
Okay, hold it still. There you go.
Hey.
Now, those are called piston rings. That's what I told you about the first show we did, the oil changing show. I said, if you remember, oil gets up past these rings, it starts burning oil. Well, these are the rings that keep the oil from getting where it's not supposed to get. Now, this piston, like I said, it fits in these cylinders with this side facing towards the top. Now, this is a little carboned up, but don't worry about that.
What would happen if you tried to put it in there?
If I tried to put this in now, it would take an hour.
And it just fits that tight?
Well, it's not so much that, except you have to fool with all these rings here. See these rings, you have to squeeze them down tight and get them nice and clamped together, and then stick it in and then let them go, and then it's like I said, a real pain in the neck. Excuse me. But I could try it, but it'd take a good while, I'm sure. Okay. Now, this piston is connected. See this little hole right here? Well, these screws come off. In fact, I might just show you this. Right now you wonder what in the world this is all about, but after I tell you about 4 or 5 different things here, you'll start to understand. Now I have to fiddle with this a little bit, see if I can get it off. It's part of the hassles of rebuilding an engine. Nothing ever comes off or goes together like it's supposed to. Do what?
You get that off there, will it rain?
No, it will probably hailstorm. It's never rained when I took an engine apart. Like I said, it did hail one day. By the way, just for general purposes, if you ever decide you want to build your own engine, if you're an ambitious type backyard mechanic like me and you want to build one, best thing to do if you got a car that it'll fit in is get you an old 350 engine somewhere in pretty good shape and rebuild them, because any nut can rebuild a 350 engine and have it run a little bit. It may blow up the next day, but at least it'll probably run for a while. And you can get, I got the pages dirty, wipe them all off. Chilton's manual. Chilton's manual is famous throughout backyard garages over the world. This one here pertains only to Camaros, but you can get one that pertains to all cars, and it's big and thick and 11 yards wide and so forth. But this will tell you how to rebuild your engine, basically. Now, there's a few things in here they may not tell you, but anything they don't tell you in here won't be so important that you can't live without it. Da-da-dum. Sit it back down. I got it. Having trouble following me with that camera? Da-da-dum. Okie doke. Now, as I was saying, this right here is what they call, well, the bearing's not actually in here, but it's got a space for a bearing. You put a bearing in here. Now, it's not really a round bearing like what you see in your roller skates and things like that. It's what it really is just a real ultra smooth piece of metal that you put in here, and you put the other piece in here. See? Okay. Now, I'm just gonna set this right down in here for a second. Now, don't you go nowhere. Now, the bottom of this piston is connected to something called a crankshaft, which is heavy. Now, I'm going to explain this crankshaft to you first. These big, wide disc-looking things right here, here they are just weights. And what they're for is once the crankshaft gets turning, they keep it going, keep the car, give it a lot of power, okay? Now, they do make it a little slower taking off and a little slower slowing down. But, it's the price you have to pay. Some people get aluminum crankshafts and things like that have lighter weights on them and so forth. That's for high performance. It gives the car more punch and makes it go quicker. And it doesn't have as much, what do you call that? There's another word for
Inertia?
it. Yeah, that's it. Doesn't have as much inertia once it gets started. I'm one of them sophisticated words, I'm a sophisticated backyard mechanic. Okay, I'll pay you after the show here. And, but basically this is a stock one. It's made of, most of them are made out of cast metal of some sort. Okay,
what's that made out of?
Here's somebody. This one here, this one looks to be made of steel, which is a better crank. But, I don't know. It sounds cast to me, though. Okay, anyway. Summer, how you doing, Gonzo? Mr. Frank, come on up. And like I said, most of them are made out of cast metal. Some of the old ones were made out of steel. Steel is considered to be a better crankshaft, but, either one will work. Anyway, back where I was starting. Now, this crankshaft lays... Time out for a second. Can I help you? What you need? I don't know. Okay, sorry about the delay there. Anyway, as I was saying, now this piston, now I gotta fight it to get it back out. It's sitting down in that cylinder you see. This end sticking up out of the bottom of the engine. Well, this crankshaft lays flat across here, and it bolts down into these grooves that you see here on top of the engine. Okay? Now this piston comes up to one of these round parts, the nice smooth round parts you see on the crankshaft, like so, and bolts down to it. Okay, now I just use this end and bolt it on the other side, bolts piston to the crank. Now, if you look real close, let me see if I can turn this around here. Here's the center line of the crankshaft, going straight down the center. Now these parts that the piston bolts to are off to the side. One side, this is off to another side. This one here is towards the back. So, okay, that means you got a crooked straight line. A little over here, a little over there, a little over here. Now what happens is, I bolt, there's 8 pistons, one that goes in each one of these holes, each one of these cylinders. And I bolt each one of them to a different one of these. Frankly, to be honest, I don't know what these things are called here. They're just bolting places. And bolts one to each one of these neat little bolting places. See, you got 8 of them. Somewhere in here there's 8 of them. Anyway, take my word for it, there's 8 of them. And now I was getting worried for a second. I was counting there, and they're not but 6. This is the wrong crank, because we got a 6-cylinder engine over here. I thought maybe I had the wrong crank, but anyway, now when those pistons move up, and I'll tell you what makes them move up and down in a second. But inside these cylinders, those pistons move up and down and up and down. And when they move up and down, they got a hold of this thing right here, which turns it. Let's see if I can find something smooth to turn it up. There we go. Do it on the floor. Now this piston's connected onto one of these things right here, see? Okie doke. Now this part right here is stationary. Now when that piston moves up and down, it turns this, like so, see? And moves it up, it comes up, when it goes back down, and pushes it around. Comes back up, pulls it out, comes back down, pushes it back down. Okay, what it does is, you can see, it just gets this crankshaft to spin and just getting down, you know, going to town. Yeah, to get down. Got a good joke about that, but I don't know if I ought to tell you on film. Anyway, now where'd my piston go? I'm gonna put it all back together here now, because I don't want to lose any of the parts. So, now that crankshaft down there is connected to something called your transmission, which I never fool with, because frankly I don't know a whole lot about it. Not enough that I'd want to tackle rebuilding one. And I'd like to learn more, but right now it's too bad. Now, get on there. There you go. So, like I said, that crank is connected to your transmission. Your transmission turns just like the crank does, which turns the drive shaft in the back of your car, which turns the back wheels, which makes your car go. Okay, got that? Good. Okay. You get the so the pistons, well, if you got front wheel drive, then you don't worry about all that other stuff. You just turns the front wheels. Okie doke. Now, like I said, that piston, as I said, moves up and down, which turns the crankshaft, which turns your which anyway, in essence, turns your back wheels. The crankshaft is connected in the long run to your rear wheels, or like I said, unless you have front wheel drive, then it's connected to your front wheels. But that's what makes your car go forward. Excuse me. Now this crank, I could lay it down in here and show you how it fits. Might not be a bad idea if I could get it to fit this morning. I just hate to be lifting it up and down so much. Now, where are we? Here we are. Oh, my fingers. Oh, my fingers. Oh, and I got it in backwards. Is Ray up? Here we go. There we go. Now, you can see this how it turns a lot easier while it's here in the engine, you know? Now, like I said, this is what that piston's connected to, and while it turns, it just makes this sucker go round and round and round. Now, see this little cog right here? Don't forget that's there, because later on you're going to have to know why it's there. Got that? Okay. Now, I would leave this in here, except I'm fixing to turn the engine around and it would drop it. On the phone? Okay, so I'm going to take it back out. Be right there, Gonzo. Da-da-da-da-da. Now, what's the best way to take this out? Can you cut that for just a second? I got to go get the phone. Hang on, I'm still chewing on my nut. Okay. Now, where was I? Okay. Just for the record, this is what you hold the crankshaft in with. You saw a second ago where I had the crank in. I should have shown you then. This bolts down over top of it and holds it in. They got 5 of these suckers. One here, one here. The rest of them are smaller though. One here and here and here. And it holds it in, make sure it doesn't fall out while you're driving down the road, because see, that'd be kind of inconvenient. You'd have to hitchhike home. Da-da-da-da-dum. Now, I'm going to show you the rest of the stuff that you don't know yet. And hope this engine doesn't fall off the stand. Because if it does, it's going to make a terrible noise. And it's going to hurt my feet like heck, too. Now you see the top of the engine. Now this isn't at all what the top of the engine looks like in your car, because there's stuff all over the top of it. And I'll show you what that stuff is in a few minutes here. Now you remember a minute ago I showed you the piston, and it's in this cylinder right here. Now the top of it's facing out. If you remember, this part is facing out where you can see it when you got these heads off here. Okay. Now what makes that piston go up and down is that real expensive liquid gold type stuff you buy in the service station, gasoline. It gets in the cylinder and it explodes, and it makes the piston go down. Now, while this one's down, there's another piston over here somewhere that's up, and it explodes and makes it go down, which turns that crankshaft and makes this one come back up. See? Now we got 8 cylinders, 8 pistons, and they're all firing at different times. Okay, some engines, I don't know which ones in particular, have them set up where 2 pistons will fire at a time. But if I'm correct, I may have to look it up and be sure. There's so many different types. All 8 of these pistons will fire at a different time on 350. Now, let's see here. What would be most appropriate to tell you next is what fits on top of these pistons are what you call cylinder heads, or most people just call them heads. Now they got valves in them. I think I'll show you a set of good ones. Da-da-da-da-dum. Okay. Now these have just been rebuilt. Okay. Yep, rebuilt, painted, and everything. It's a lot of machine work. It costs a lot of money to rebuild heads, especially when they're this size. These are 300 horsepower heads. They come off this very engine here, I believe. Anyway, big heads cost big money. These cost a lot to fix. If you ever decide to have a set of heads rebuilt, you can figure on about 60 bucks. If they're in terribly bad shape like those down there, it'd be cheaper to buy new ones. Now I'll show you some more details on those down there in a minute. Those down there you see in the floor now are some bad heads I picked up for $5. A friend of mine was fixing to scrap an engine, so I told him I wanted his 300 horsepower heads. Now, get this all straightened up here. Okay.
What relationship do heads have to horsepower?
Heads have the horsepower? Okay, I'll get to that in a second here. Let me show you how they work, and then you'll understand how they have something to do with horsepower. Okie doke. Now this is too heavy for me to be flipping around, so I'm just going to tell you where it fits, okay? Now this head fits right here, flat down on this nice smooth little piece here where the pistons come up. That's why you can't see the pistons when you look under your hood, because these heads are in the way. Now these holes are what you call exhaust holes. Now they point towards the outside of the engine. Okay. Now I'm going to turn this head up and show you what goes on. Hope it didn't hurt anything. These are valves. These big, whoa. I'm having trouble keeping this engine from turning over. If it turns over, I just run a set of heads. There we go. Now, these valves let in gas and take exhaust out. Okay. Now one of them will open, let the gas come in. One of them will open, let the exhaust come out. Okay. Now they do this at different times, and each set of heads are in perfect time with the cylinder that it's lined up over top of. When this piston comes all the way to the top, both valves will be closed. Okay. Now when it starts to go down just a little bit, let's see, the second time it comes back up, after it's fired, the exhaust valve will open, and the piston will push all the exhaust, all the burnt gas out this valve and out the hole, the exhaust hole that I just showed you a minute ago. Then it'll go down. The second time it comes back up, the gas valve will open up, squirt a little gas in there, and then it'll shut and it'll fire and push that piston back down again, see? Pretty simple, right? Now, that's what keeps the pistons going up and down. Now I'm going to show you where you get the gas from in a few minutes, okay? Right now all you need to know is the gas comes out of this valve and the exhaust goes out this one. Alright? Now that's what keeps your piston moving up and down, which keeps your crankshaft turning, which keeps your car trucking on down the road, which costs you a fortune every time you go to the gas station. Now, where was I? Okay, what makes these valves go up and down in perfect time is we got what you call a camshaft. Let me turn this around. Da-da-da-da-da. Now a camshaft, when this engine was taken out of the truck it was taken out of, the camshaft was bad, so they trashed it. So I don't have one to show you. And I don't have a very good picture to show you either, so you're going to have to take my word for it. What it looks like, it's just a long straight thing with some lumps on it, egg-shaped lumps all the way around it, and they're all egg shapes or facing different directions. Okay, I know that doesn't tell you too well. I'll see if I can show you a picture in a minute. But what happens is it's a camshaft. Here we go. The camshaft will push this rod. Now see, this rod will be sticking down in this hole down inside the engine that you can't see from there. But there's holes. There's 2 holes for each one of these cylinders for these what you call push rods to fit into. It comes down into the center of the engine. Okay, now the camshaft is in the center of the engine, and it's got, like I said, an egg-shaped, kind of an oval-shaped lump on it. And every time that camshaft turns around, it'll push this rod up. And when it pushes this rod up, this what you call here is a rocker arm, and it's locked down in one position. And it'll push this valve stem down, which opens the valve that's underneath. Okay, am I explaining this clear enough? Okay. Now, now it's in perfect time with the pistons. Now, that'll have a lump. It'll have 16 different lumps on it. 8 for this side, 2 for each piston, put it that way. Okay, 1 for exhaust and 1 for gas. Now it'll turn, and it's a now the way they keep that so it'll push these up and down at the exact right time. Remember the cog I showed you on the front of the crankshaft a few minutes ago? Sticks out on the front of the engine. Well, the camshaft sticks out here, and it also has a cog on the front. And they have a chain that fits around the two, and it's called a timing chain. Now this holds the crankshaft and the cam turning at the exact same speed. That way, every time the piston is in such a place in reference to the crankshaft, then the cam shaft is in such a place in reference to everything else, pushes these rods however they're supposed to be at the time. According to which pistons are up and which pistons are down is how it pushes the valves up and down. Is that clear enough? Okay, I mean, I can see it, but I'm just wanting to make sure that I'm explaining it clear enough. Okay. Now I'll take this back off. There's no need for this. Now if you're wondering what a set of heads look like with all the rocker arms already on them, see, this one I just placed on here and didn't tie it down. Those heads right there, they have all the rocker arms already on them, tied together, and they're in pretty bad shape. And if they're not warped, I'm going to rebuild them someday. Now, what's that?
Borrowing his heads.
That's his problem. He borrowed my pistol yesterday, didn't say a word to me. Shot long rifle shells in a magnum chamber. I could have killed him, but I won't. I mean, I'm a nice guy. I don't think he minds anyway. He's understanding. So he realizes that if he doesn't like it, it doesn't do him a dang bit of good to say anything about it. Me and my brother get along good. We're more like buddies. Now, where was I? Okay. Now you want to know where the gas comes from, right? I mean, So, now this thing down here is awful dirty, but I'm going to show you anyway. I'll time out for a second. Alright, since you're looking at this, I'll show you anyway. This is an intake manifold for a 327 engine. Now, it'll fit on a 350. It'll also fit on a 400, I believe. But it came off a 327 engine. Doesn't matter. Now, this big round thing you see here on top is a carburetor. And it's no good by now, I'm sure. This, don't worry about it. This is where you put the oil in. You remember my oil show I showed you earlier? I said sometime you have a hole in the side of the engine where you pour oil in. Sometime you have a big spout where you pour it in and so forth. Well, this is one with that big spout on it. Okay, anyway, this main body down here is an intake manifold. Now this sits right on top of the engine. Sorry about that, Ray. I should have thought about it. My mistake. Okay. This sits right on top of the engine. Hey, step on over here. I'll tell everybody who you are. They're going to see you sooner or later anyway. Okay. One more time. This is an intake manifold. It sits right on top of the engine. If I could get Ray to help me lift it up here, I'd put it on here. Ray, why don't you come over and help me pick this up? Dun-dun-dun-dun. Grab the end of it there. Just set it up. That's the front. Oh. Well, let's don't let this turn over or nothing. Let's get it sitting on there basically smooth. Okay. Now don't worry about this thing right here. It's just for looks. Now what we had, like I showed you earlier, the heads go on here. Now the heads will come up against this, flat against this intake manifold. And you'll bolt the manifold down to the heads, and the heads are bolted down to the engine. Okay. Now this carburetor, you have a gas line that'll run from way back somewhere into your carburetor. Now this carburetor up here mixes gas and air the way it's supposed to be mixed. Something like 15 parts to 1, is that right? Whatever, 15 parts air to 1 part gas. But really that doesn't matter that much right now. Okay, this carburetor puts gas down into this intake manifold, which all this is really is a big space of air with holes in the side. You see? You can see the holes in here, I'm sure. Did you get a shot of them earlier?
The holes.
Or the holes, okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, the holes.
The holes.
Got the holes, yeah. Well, that's where the gas comes out. It comes out of there, goes into the heads, and that's how the gas gets to your pistons, okay? Now this carburetor has an adjustment on it right here. It's called linkage, and it's froze up. But anyway, when you step on your gas pedal a little further, this carburetor puts a little more gas in. When you let off, this carburetor takes a little more gas out. Okay? That's how your gas gets to your pistons. And that about covers it for the intake manifold. Ray, why don't you help me take it down? Okay. See, I can't lift anything very heavy. I had a car wreck about 1.5 years ago, and I'm still having a little back trouble. Getting over it eventually, but right now I'm just kind of, I took good care of it. I shouldn't have set it down, though. You're right. Word of precaution, if you ever get into an engine this deep, don't lay the crankshaft down flat on the floor like I just did. You're not supposed to, because it warps it. I mean, that one time I don't think it's going to warp it or hurt it or anything. But if you leave it laying there for like a couple of days or so forth, it's not good for it. Now, where was I? Basically, that covers all the main moving parts of an engine and so forth. If you remember, when we changed the oil, there was an oil pan on the bottom of an engine. You haven't seen that yet. Well, if you remember, this is where the crankshaft is. Sticking out down here, and that's where the pistons are all connected, and that's where all the moving parts are, you know. Everything, all that metal stuck together, and it's moving around. And it's got to have something to keep it from burning itself up. An engine without oil won't go too far. So this oil pan fits right on the bottom of the engine, just like that. And you fill it up with oil. Now you can't just come down here and fill it up with oil, you see. You have to fill it up through the spout in the top that I showed you there. And they've got a nice, neat little funnel inside the engine. It comes down and goes into the oil pan. And then you got all the oil you need in your engine. There's an oil pump that fits down inside of that pan that we hadn't got to show you today. And it pumps the oil up into all the moving parts in here. The valves, the cam, and all the other moving parts, the tops of the valves and so forth. Now, one last thing, this is not real important, but when you raise your engine up, your hood up on your car, what you see, you don't see the heads and all that kind of stuff like that. This is a valve cover, and it fits on top of the heads. See if it'll fit on top of these. These are off 2 different engines, but yeah, there you go. Fits right down on top of it like that. Now that's why this is what you see when you raise your hood up on your car. If you ever decide to take one of these off, that's what you're going to see. Okay, now all this does is just keep the oil. See, oil gets up in these parts right here. These are working parts. This just keeps the oil from flying out of your car. Now that basically covers all the good parts of the engine, and there's a couple neat little things I'll tell you about since we're here and into it. Kind of high performance tips. Some people, when they build engines, if you're interested in building your own engine, and you're kind of a power junkie like me, you know, you like fast cars, the camshaft that I told you about earlier fits in here. It's got those nice little lumps on it that moves the valves up and down. If you get one, something similar called a racing cam. Now, if you want one to make it go a little faster, have a little more power, just go in the parts shop wherever you buy your cam, and tell them what kind of engine you got, and they'll tell you the best cam for what you want. Okay. Now, what it is, it just a racing cam just has bigger lumps on it, holds the valves open further or longer, or both. If you get one that holds them open longer and further, it costs you dearly in gasoline. In fact, the bigger the cam, usually the worse gas mileage you're going to get anyway. Now, sometimes not to a degree that it'll be so bad, but sometimes to a degree that it will kill you. Okay. And now I showed you the heads earlier, and the holes on the sides of the heads are called exhaust holes. Now that's where the exhaust comes out of the engine. Now you've seen, let's see, well, I guess you looked under the hood before and you've seen the pipes coming out of the side of your engine, and that's where your exhaust comes out and it takes it back to the back of your car. Well, some people, you know, you can only get as much out of an engine as you put into an engine. Wait a minute. You can only put as much into an engine as you get out of an engine. Now those nice neat little holes they got, I had that backwards, you see. Those nice neat little holes they got coming out of the side of the engine, with those nice neat little pipes coming off the sides and so forth, those pipes are only so big. So you can only put so much into the engine because you can only get so much out of there. Okay? So you can't put, I mean, you're wasting power if you put 10 miles worth of gas in here. Now that's not a good figure. Anyway, you put megatons of gas in here, but you can only take millitons out, then you're wasting gas and power too, okay? Now, so you can put this great big carburetor on here that just pours gas down into your engine, but you still got these little bitty exhausts here. Now, that's going to make your car go somewhat faster, but you're still not getting the full benefit of your engine. So what some people do, they take these little bitty exhaust manifold pipes off, you see. These little, hey, I got him to laugh finally. They take them suckers off and they trash them because that's all they're good for anyway. And they put these on. Excuse me, I'm getting cranked. We should have started this show about now. Now I can get into it. These are called headers. By the way, these are for sale if anybody wants them. They're $30. And if anybody's got them, just call down Cable 10. Jim will tell you how to get hold of me, and just come on out and I'll be glad to sell them to you. These fit on a 350 or a 327 engine. Yeah, also have a 59 retractable hardtop for sale. $1 million, but I'm sure that's negotiable. Now, as I said, you see these have great big holes in them. Lots bigger than what's... Actually, the holes themselves aren't that much bigger than what's on your car to start with. But the exhaust manifold on your car, they all come down into neat little... Here, I'll hold it still in a second. They all come down into a neat little pipe, not much bigger than this. Now, these headers don't do that. These headers just all come together, and they still have plenty room for the exhaust to come out in the end. A lot bigger pipe, you see. Now this means that you can put that more of that gas you're throwing into your engine is going to have room to work around and come out. See, like I said, you can't get any more out of an engine than what you put in, or vice versa. Got that. So people put these headers on here, which means they can get more out of the car, which means they can get more use out of what's going in. Eat more possum. Okay, and they just bolt on the side of the engine, and you just hook up your regular exhaust to it. You might have to make a little alteration, but if you want the extra 40 horses off 350, it's worth the fight. High performance people tell you that headers are the best best horsepower per dollar buy for your money, and also probably one of the easiest things to put on. But they're not easy to put on. They're just one of the easiest. They're just not as hard as some other things. So they say, according to Hot Rod Magazine, good headers will give a 350 engine an extra 45 horsepower. That's an awful big chunk for something like $80, you know. So I think that about covers everything.
I think I better wrap it up.
Yeah, how long have we gone?
About a little over 30, so.
Oh, really? I told you it'd be nice and short.
We can fit it into 30 here.
All right. So, We made it nice and short and sweet, and Jim says gotta go, so bye. Y'all get lost. How's that?